Hi, my name is Jeffrey Rubin, President of Testrite Instrument Company, Hackensack, New Jersey. Testrite is an OEM manufacturer. What does that mean? It means that we make parts for your products. Now, Testrite's been in business for 101 years, and in that time we've made a wide variety of bases. Today we've tried to simplify it down to 5 different types, and then throughout this video we're going to talk about each of them. And feel free to skip ahead to the type of base that you're looking for. So the base might be one piece of a project that we're making for you, or it might be all you need from us. We can make standard bases that we already have in stock and sell them to you, or we can make an entirely new base that's never existed before, made to your specifications. Typically, minimums for something custom are 25, although with higher complexity, higher minimums may apply. The first thing we're going to be talking about today are round bases. These are typically made from flat, mild steel. The advantage of mild steel, it's less expensive, and it gives you a good amount of weight. We have a wide variety of base sizes, and we'll talk about each of them. Next are square bases. Square bases are typically the most economical. You're not going to waste the steel you do around a round base. We have formed steel bases. So these are bases that are not just a flat piece of steel, but they involve some forming operations. We have tubular bases. So these are bases made out of tubing to satisfy a variety of functions. And finally, we have tripod bases. Testrite's a 101-year-old company, and our history includes manufacturing tripods, photographic enlargers, so we continue to have the tooling and know-how to make a lot of different bases, including tripod bases. So now we're going to talk about round steel bases. There are 4 key criteria when specifying a round steel base: diameter, thickness, attachment, and finally color. First, the size. So in front of me, we have all of our standard round bases. Now, if we don't have a standard size that meets your needs, we can make a custom size. Typically, there's a minimum of 25 pieces to start on a custom base. Standard, we have our 19-inch round base, our 17-inch round, our 15-inch round, our 13-inch round, our 11-inch round, our 9-inch round, our 6 3/4 inch round, and finally, our 3 1/4 inch round. All of those are the diameter of the base. Now, for each of these bases, you'll see there are different types of attachments. The first I'll show you on our 19-inch round base are 2 countersunk holes. The nice thing about a countersunk hole is, after you insert the screw, it's very much flat, and so you won't need any sort of felt or bumpers if you don't want them. A countersink is very nice as long as your base is thick enough. This is a 3/16" base with a countersink for a 1/4-20 screw. On the other end of the table here, I'll show you on our 6 3/4 inch round base, we have a counterform. Now, what's the difference between a countersink and a counterform? A counterform on the back looks very similar. It has space for the screw head. On the top, though, there's a disruption. So in a situation where you're going to be attaching a tube where there's plenty of clearance for the disruption, a counterform may be an option. Why do we use a counterform? You can hide a larger screw head given a thinner base. So this is counterformed for a 1/4-20 screw, even though the base is only 1/8 inch thick, which you wouldn't be able to make a countersink big enough for the screw head on this size base. So it helps you save a little bit of money on the steel by using a different attachment operation. What you'll see, most of the bases in front of me have aluminum bushings. So let's talk about what that is. So this is an aluminum bushing that is peened to the back of the base. Peening is very much like a stapling operation. So there's an aluminum bushing that is flattened to where the outer edges of the bushing spread out to secure the bushing to the base. So this is a permanent attachment. And then we include felt bumpers on the bottom of the base to make up the space so that this doesn't scratch your floor. Typically, we use 1 screw to attach a base bushing to your upright, although sometimes we can do 2 or 3, depending on the amount of strength you need or the amount of rigidity. What's really nice about the base bushing, if I take a base with 1 screw from the bottom, it's very nice and tight to start if you tighten the screw. We do a lot in retail though, and it turns out sometimes folks don't fully tighten that screw. Or over time, things get hit, things get knocked, it loosens up. And what can happen is your upright can start to tilt over. With a base bushing, because the bushing is always there supporting it, your upright's always going to be straight up and down. Even if the screw gets a little loose, your upright's going to be straight up and down. The trade-off, if you knock the upright from a stand with a base bushing, it'll move back and forth, but it'll always come back true to 90 degrees. With a screw from the bottom, that's not true. So it looks sturdier to begin with, but over time, this one will start to wobble, whereas with our base bushings, you don't have to deal with that issue. The last criteria is color. So as you can see, everything in front of me is silver. We also stock these bases standard in black. If you need a different color, reach out and we'd be happy to give you a quote. Up next are our square and rectangular bases. We have many more bases that we manufacture every single day and that we stock that will fit on this table. These are just a sampling. So if we don't cover a base that you need, feel free to reach out and we'll tell you what we have standard or what we can make for you custom. To start off, this is our 16-inch square steel base, available 1/4 inch thick and 1/8 inch thick. Next up is our 12-inch square base, available 1/8 thick and 0.90. Our 4x18-inch base, oftentimes used when there are 2 legs on a unit, is available 3/16 inch thick, available with square corners or rounded. Any of our bases can be made with rounded corners where that's desired. You'll see there are 2 holes here. What are those holes for? Well, there are applications that call for casters. So these are locking ball bearing casters that are attached through the base with an acorn nut on top. Now for a lot of applications, you want a very strong, sturdy wheel, and you don't mind the acorn nut, this is the most cost-effective option. There are customers and there are applications where you say, I don't want to see the acorn nut, I want it nice and clean on top. So what we can do there is we can actually weld a U-bracket to the bottom of the base. This way the caster is attached to the U-bracket and the top of the base is nice and clean. Moving further along here, we have our 6-inch square base. This is 1/8 thick. On this particular 6-inch square base, we're showing it with a male thread. So this male thread is actually welded from the underside, so it's permanently on there. So it makes it very easy to attach to an upright. We also have a 4-inch square base. We have tooling that you can get these holes for no additional charge. And this one's shown with a countersink in the middle along with 2 aligning pins. So the holes in the corner are typically for mounting to a ceiling, a fixture, or a wall. These dimples are designed to help prevent a particular extrusion so it won't rotate once it's attached. This next 4-inch square base is another example of something custom that we can manufacture for you. So this actually has a bushing that's peened on here, and then there's a set screw, so you can actually attach a very thin wire, drop it in, tighten the set screw, and the wire is going to stay fixed. Here's an example of a custom base that I think demonstrates a few of the features you might choose to ask for on your next project. So the first thing you'll notice, the first thing I notice, are the corners. The corners on this base are very large radius. You can see it's much different than on our small base here. So this particular customer specified the radius they wanted, and we had tooling for that particular radius. Another thing you'll notice, there's a hole in the corner. This particular customer wanted this base to be able to be attached with a security tether. That way the entire assembly couldn't be picked up and walked away with. Now in a lot of applications, you'll have a customer ask us for 2 holes or 4 so they can mount it to a floor. Any base that's mounted, even if it's smaller, is going to be stronger than a larger base that's not mounted. On the underside of the base, you'll see that there are adhesive back bumpers. So this is an option. These are taller than our felts. Sometimes customers want to bring the base off the floor so a power cable or something else can get under the base, or because they're worried about mopping, they don't want the felts on the floor. This is a different finish. This is a matte black finish. Most of the bases that you're seeing in these videos are what we call a texture. With a texture, there's a little bit less of a fingerprint magnet. So every time I touch this base, and my hands are particularly clean at the moment, but every time you touch a base, you might leave a little bit of oil. If you step on it, you might leave a little bit of something. The matte bases show that significantly more than the texture, which is why most of our bases are made with a textured powder coat. So next, I'm going to show you a related base. This is a laser cut steel base And what you'll see is that this base has very similar bumpers to the one I just showed you. So what's the difference? Whereas this square base has adhesive back bumpers, this laser cut oval base made right here at Testrite has rivet on bumpers. So there is actually a rivet traveling through the bumper that secures it to make sure it's permanently attached. The trade-off, it's stronger, but you see the rivet. Oftentimes used in applications where there's going to be a lot of jostling, high traffic areas, or where you don't mind seeing the rivet head. Okay, so now we're going to talk about formed bases. So at the end of the last segment, I showed you this laser cut steel base. So with our laser cutters, and we have multiple, we can cut just about any shape you want. In this particular case, we have boomerang cutouts, which help us save a little bit on weight. We also have an attractive oval shape. The nice thing about the laser cutter is you make sure it's precise every single time. It's the same every single time. We can make any shape you want, whether it's in the shape of Mickey Mouse's head, or a square, or an oval, or a cut-off oval, or a half circle. Any shape you want, pretty much, we can make on our laser cutters. Now in front of me, you see a plethora of options of formed bases. A lot of different choices here, a lot of different examples. You might find one piece of something you like in one product, one piece or element you like in another, and you want to combine them. Making something unique based on capabilities you've seen is something we're great at Testrite. So feel free to find the things you like and then send it to us and say, hey, I want to borrow this element from here and this element from there. The first thing I'm going to show you is our bridge base. Our bridge base includes a racetrack oval bottom with a formed steel top, and these two pieces are welded together. What's the advantage here? You're not only holding the upright, in this case, from the bottom, but you're also providing some stability a few inches up. So we call this a bridge base, and we can make this in many different sizes. Next, I'm going to show you one of our travel bases. This boomerang shaped base is a travel base. You can either use a screw or a knob to come up from above. The nice thing about this base, you can see it's laser cut, it's got this attractive design, and it's got bends. These bends make it very similar to a tripod, except you have the weight of a steel base and it's very compact. When it comes time to pack it up, you merely slide one of the legs under the other part. It's very easy to put into a bag, whether it's a carry-on or one of the bags that we sell here at Testrite. And when you want to stand up your item, you have a nice broad footprint to work with. Okay, next I'm going to show you one of our clamp bases. We make clamp bases every day here at Testrite. We can make them for whatever your ID is. So you tell us the thickness of your counters or the range of thicknesses you want. And as an example, you might say, well, my counters will vary from 1 inch thick to 2 inch thick. You can either have a countersunk hole, as you see here, or you can have a male thread pre-installed welded. Sometimes we'll even do screws from below, although typically those will need to be Allen head so you can get in from a right angle. Typically the clamp consists of a knob with a male thread and a nylon puck. This way, when you tighten up against your counter, you're not going to mark it up. This nylon helps spread the forces around so that you're not going to dig in and hurt your nice, beautiful counters. The next example here is a U-bracket pre-installed to the base. So oftentimes customers are attaching an upright to their base. Now sometimes it's round and you can use the bushing that we showed you. In other cases, a screw from the bottom will do. But when you want something that's really strong, if we weld something to the bottom of your base and then you attach to it, it's going to be very strong, very sturdy. So in this particular example, you can see there's a U-bracket made to fit the particular size of the upright, and then there are 2 threaded holes built right into the U-bracket for attaching. This is the strongest form of attachment we have. Now to my left, with all the arms, is an example of one of our lazy Susans. So do not confuse this with my wife, Suzanne, who is not lazy at all. The lazy Susan mechanism allows you to easily turn a stand or whatever your assembly is around. There are ball bearings in this. There are steel ball bearings available different sizes for different weights. Tell us about your application, how much weight's involved, and we can help design something for you. And you can see there are 3 pieces of steel, 2 on the top, 1 on each side, and a plate on the bottom. Depending on your application, you might be able to forego the plate on the bottom to save some money. This next unit is an example of a few different capabilities coming together for one project. So here we have a laser cut steel base. It's actually welded to a second laser cut steel base on the bottom, which together forms a C. Now in this particular application, you can put liquor bottles here. We've also done similar versions where there are dog bowls that go here, or we can make a version to hold whatever samples of product you would like. What's unique about this project and really interesting, there's also a C channel in the front, so you can slide a graphic, or you could put in a wet erase chalkboard or another type of board so that you can write each day what you're sampling, or you can put a piece of graphic for the brand that you're showcasing. In this particular application here, we also have holes on the underside for uprights and a graphic sign frame. We are leaders in graphic integration, so if any of our products you'd like to add a graphic, just ask and we're happy to give you your options. Up next, I want to showcase a different style of base. We call this our mega base. So most of the bases you've seen attach to an assembly solely from below. So this you can see has two holes to attach from below. This unit's unique in that it also has a tab on the side, and it's all made from one piece of steel. So now you're securing from below as well as from the side. It makes it incredibly stable. This particular unit would have two of these bases, one at each end, and it's incredibly strong. It's probably one of our strongest constructions. So I have another example where we're using a variety of Testrite capabilities all together in one product. So this includes laser cut bases. There are actually two of them, and they're joined together by steel pins that are welded top and bottom. There's steel uprights, and then you have a formed plate at the top. So this is actually a variety of different steel plates and bases all attached together to create a very unique item. Next, I'm going to show you our Hercules base. Now this is a base that includes a welded stem. It includes two holes for attaching an upright from below. It's very strong. Again, anytime you're attaching from below as well as from the side, you're increasing strength. This base is also a little different in that it has side lips. Now we've made versions with lips on two sides or four. This has lips on all four sides. And this has our heavy-duty casters on them. These are ball-bearing casters, locking. And again, they have our U-bracket so that you don't see anything from above. There's no interruption, there's no acorn nut from above. This is extraordinarily strong. It's got a good amount of heft to it. This can be used to attach many different products, so we can make it in whatever size you need, with whatever attachment you need to attach your product with a beautiful rolling base. I once had a customer ask us, how strong is this base? And to demonstrate, I actually used it as a skateboard across our office. We don't recommend doing that. It's at your own risk, but it is quite strong. This base can take a lot of weight and a lot of abuse. So if we look back at all the bases we've shown so far, they're all made from flat steel. Some of them are formed, so they have bends, but underlying material is all flat steel. Up next, I want to show you some tubular bases. Now these are just a few examples. We've made many more over the years. This is really just to highlight some of our capabilities. If you don't see something that's right for you here, reach out. If you do see something you like, we're happy to incorporate it into your next project. All right, first tubular base. This is made from square steel tubing with round support material. This is an entirely welded base. Lightweight, economical, it's very strong. The trade-off, it's not that heavy. A lot of times you want lightweight, sometimes you want more heft. Really depends on what you need for your project. It does include our locking ball bearing casters. So strength, mobility, at a low cost, lightweight. Up next is our Harmony Air Base. The reason I included this base is it's extraordinarily lightweight. Weighs about a pound. As you can see, I can do curls with one finger on this thing. It's very, very light. And yet, it has a big footprint. So a big footprint means it's going to be stable. This base in particular assembles with springs and swaging, so it's completely tool-free. So just an example of a lightweight, tool-free base that might be right for your project. Other nice thing about this base is it fits into a carry-on, airline carry-on bag. We actually have the bag if you need one. So very portable in addition to being lightweight. Up next, I have our rectangular extrusion with ribbing. So again, another tubular base. In this case, it's a rectangle. This particular base has wheels. Now these are not our locking ball bearing casters. We refer to this as a tilt to roll construction. The reason we call it tilt to roll, on this unit you tilt it in order to move. Now this base, we try to think it all through. This base has bumpers. These are rivet-on bumpers, so they're permanently attached, and they help lift the base off the floor. Why? Because we want to make sure that when you first tilt the unit to roll it, you're not going to scratch your flooring. And again, that's what it's like to work with Testrite. We help you think through the key attributes for your project. This is an example of a completely bespoke design, Testrite engineered years ago based on the requirements of a particular customer. This is used for voting booth legs. Now, this might not be right for your application, it probably isn't. We show it just to explain that even if you don't find exactly what you're looking for on this table, we can work with you on more detailed projects that require tooling, custom parts manufacturing, and really a lot of design and engineering time. If the scale is there and our price is right for you, we're happy to work with you on those more intensive projects. The last one I'm going to show you in terms of tubular bases, by no means all the tubular bases we have, but this is a folding base. So this particular base will be used with a tabletop material. This is a miniature example. We actually had a full-size unit being used in retail stores in the cosmetics industry. So a salesperson can fold the base up at the end of the day. In the morning, they come out to a new retail store, fold it open, lay it out. There's a folding countertop that's branded with that particular cosmetic company's logo, and the salesperson can make a very professional pitch. Now, in front of me are 3 different tripod bases, which is apropos because a tripod has 3 legs. Now, this is just a small sampling of tripods that we had sitting around our office. We manufacture a wide range of tripods that are tailored to different applications. If you have a tripod project, please feel free to reach out. We're happy to quote something that's right for you and your project. I'll start on my left-hand side. This is our most economical tripod. You can see we have very skinny legs on this guy. 3 legs, 3 plastisol end caps at the bottom, keeps it pretty darn secure for something that's very lightweight. This uses a more economical mill finish aluminum tubing, so you're not paying for a finish that you may not care about. In the middle here, this is a heavier duty tripod base. You can see it's got a little more heft to it. At the bottom of this doubled up leg, we have a rubber ring. This helps keep it firmly planted on the ground. In this particular case, we're showcasing aluminum anodized tubing, which is a higher end look for tubing. Most of the tubing that we sell today is aluminum that's been anodized. And last but not least, this gold friend over here, this is a bright tip gold anodized tube that has 2 yokes as part of its tripod base. We manufacture some bases with 1 yoke, some with 2. It really depends on the application, what you're looking for, what your budget is, as well as other factors. And here you can see we have crutch tips at the bottom of the tripod base. So regardless of what your project is, if it's going to use a tripod, you need something custom, please reach out. We're happy to quote it for you. Thank you very much for watching our base video. If you visit the Testrite OEM YouTube channel, you can find videos on round telescopic tubing, square telescopic tubing, and much more. Hopefully you found the base you were looking for today, in which case we're happy to quote it for you. If you didn't, please reach out with a sketch, a photograph, or just your musings about what you're looking for, and we'll do our best to help quote it for you. You can email rfq@testrite.com or visit the website link below, www.testriteoem.com. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.